Excellent. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for making the time this Wednesday to learn a bit more about CyberSmart and how we can help you. I've heard we've got a lot of partners signed up that are interested in learning more about how you can drive compliance as a recurring revenue stream. We have some of our existing partners join as well, which I think is super interesting, and we'd love to share what's working for us and across our partner base as well. There was a conference about a month ago with one of our distributors speaking to some of the partners about their cyber essentials proposition, and I was amazed to hear some of the partners, managed service providers, still send their customers directly to IASME to go and buy a certificate and then help them to fill in a form. And I thought that's crazy that people are still doing that in this day and age. And so what we're going to dive in today is what we're seeing from a landscape perspective, firstly, to talk a bit about trust and some of the government initiatives we're seeing that are really supporting this move into compliance. And I'm joined by Sam, who's going to be taking us through in a little bit more detail. So Sam works with partners every single day to enable them and show them how they can drive greater recurring revenue from compliance as well. So many of you will I'll have met or known before. If I haven't met you, for a pleasure to meet you. I'm Jamie, co-founder and CEO at CyberSmart. I've been in cybersecurity and technology for the last 15 years, and my real passion is how we can help more SMEs to raise the baseline, but working primarily through managed service providers and people within the channel to achieve that as well. And I'm going to touch on the trust economy and talk a bit more about how Cyber Essentials is forming the basis of UK resilience as well. Samji is going to be taking us through a deep dive and seeing what, from first-hand experience, how customer expectations are changing as well. So let's dive in. So for those of you that don't know CyberSmart, we are the UK's leading certification body. We've got over 1,000 channel partners that we work with, and we've issued over 25,000 Cyber Essentials certificates to date. So we've got significant experience in what works and what doesn't work. But this is not a sales pitch. I want to talk to you a bit more about what we're seeing more broadly within the landscape as well. One attack that really stood out, I think, within the economy, but also got a lot of the policymakers to sit up and pay attention, was the Jaguar Land Rover one. So this ultimately led to what's called a technical recession. So the economy shrank in the quarter that this attack happened because of the amount of damage it caused, talking billions in damage. And this has really forced government to sit up and pay attention to not just the Jaguar Land Rovers, the really large organizations in this world, but all of their individual companies that work within their supply chain as well. And that's not really a surprise given the amount of suppliers that organizations have nowadays. Typical enterprise, 800 suppliers on average. It's actually significantly more, about 10 times more than they have employees on average. So when you think about the amount of risk that sits within supply chain, it starts to give you an idea of the order of the magnitude that the focus needs to be on raising resilience in there. And so what we've seen in the UK is the formalization of that trust and that resilience. We've heard the Cyber Resilience Pledge was launched back in April at Cyber UK. I was actually there a couple of weeks ago at 10 Downing Street to officially launch this alongside a number of large organizations. And the pledge really commits organizations to doing three things. Firstly, it's ensuring that cyber security is a board level priority. And you can utilize the resources from the NCSC in order to do so. Secondly, it's signing up to the NCSC's early warning system. So this is essentially a very simple attack surface monitoring tool. It's freely available as well. And the most impactful one is looking at requiring cyber essentials within your supply chain. And so what we're seeing is large organizations, the pledge signatories are published on the government website, are one, assessing their supply chain, and secondly, asking them where they're at in their cyber essentials compliance timelines. And the reason why Cyber Essentials has really formed the baseline of the government initiative is it's the one of the only, if not the only, certification scheme or compliance regime that has such a significant amount of empirical evidence proven to reduce cyber attacks within SMEs in particular. And so we're seeing supply chain pressure across various aspects. Sam, you're going to touch a bit deeper on some of the customer side triggers, but from a market-wide perspective, you're seeing it pop up in areas like procurement, enterprise, risk programs, third-party risk management. But ultimately, it's about how do you demonstrate trust to your customer that you're doing the right thing when it comes to cyber. And we at CyberSmart, we call that complete cyber confidence, and that's what we aim to deliver for our partners and their customers as well. From a broader perspective, so the government and regulation, so many of you will have heard of the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill, or CSRB. That's making its way through Parliament. Despite changing government, it looks like that's likely to land relatively soon. That has pretty significant shifts, particularly for critical national infrastructure. From my perspective, the biggest change here is the scope. Many more organizations, including managed service providers themselves, are going to be coming into scope of the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill. I've already talked about the Cyber Resilience Pledge, and I think that's a really key initiative from government to drive cyber essential adoption in the supply chain. But we're also seeing it more generally in terms of board accountability and the discussion around supply chain and third-party risk. And so essentially, Cyber Essentials is the foundation across all these levels. It's the first step that organizations should be taking and considering when it comes to raising that baseline, demonstrating their resilience as well. Last topic I want to touch on is insurance. So it's tangential to what we see in resilience and supply chains, but increasingly we're seeing overlap between the requirements that cyber insurers are asking and customers are asking. So they're asking for multi-factor authentication. They're asking for up-to-date patching, or at least demonstration that there's a patching cadence in place. They want organizations to have a robust vulnerability management program. And this is ever more important with the rise of frontier AI, where it's able to exploit these vulnerabilities at a much faster pace. So 14 days being an absolute minimum to patch your high-end criticals, ideally sooner, using auto updates. They're also asking about access control, who has access to what, and what privileges organizations have. So the last bit on the context really is trust is now moving from a place where it was assumed to a place where it's being audited and measured. So we often relied on organizations to fill in things like supply chain questionnaires or the self-assessment questionnaire in Cyber Essentials. And both across the customers, across government, and across insurers, and all parts of the industry, we're now expecting demonstration of that certificate and proof that it's actually in place and it's continuing to run as well. So it's a real shift from point in time self-assessment to something that's being continuously verified and audited as well. I think this is a really good thing for MSPs. MSPs are perfectly positioned in order to deliver this transition into their customer base as well. So that's everything I'm going to do around context setting. I'm going to hand over to Sam. Just before I do that, just to let you know, there is a chat function. If you have any questions at all on anything I've just covered or anything Sam's going to cover, please feel free to drop them in the chat at any point, and we'll get to those at the end or through the presentation if it's suitable as well. So over to you, Sam.
Cool. Thanks, Jamie. Good to see so many new faces and some familiar faces. Thanks for the light intro as well, Jamie. I'm Sam. I've been at CyberSmart 5 and a bit years. My role is predominantly to ensure that partners, one, know how to sell CyberSmart, and two, make revenue off the back of that. I'm going to cover a little bit more of a deeper dive into what Jamie mentioned on the context that Jamie set, but where we're seeing MSPs sort of be reactive and proactive with some of that as well. And the first part of that is the triggers. Those that are delivering Cyber Essentials already, great. Those that aren't, you will have customers that will have triggers in the next few months for sure, whether that be 1 through to 6. These are in no popularity order or order, they're just numbered, but the big two I want to dive on are number 1 and number 6. Cyber Essentials historically 4 or 5 years ago was, and still is, a great way of mitigating risk. Organizations can put the basics in play, mitigate the most common forms of breaches from happening. It's now a commercial lever. It's a commercial driver for organizations. In order for them to win business and submit tenders, they need to put the basics in place or showcase that they're working towards a cybersecurity roadmap. Typically, Cyber Essentials, government tenders, C+, public sector C is a baseline. NHS Cyber Essentials are baseline, and we're seeing more and more industries mandate Cyber Essentials, and more so Plus now as well, as part of tender process and SAQs. The big shift that we've seen away from sort of 2 to 5 is echoing what Jamie said with supply chain requirements. We've all seen the news. We've all seen our taxpayers' money recovering Jaguar Land Rover, which is fun to see. The UK government are doing something right, and they are really looking at supply chain within the UK and how we can mitigate risk across that. Back to the pledge, the FTSE 250, 350. Jamie met a lot of organisations, and you can see who signed this pledge. There are some really, really large organisations with hundreds, if not thousands, of suppliers across them that are looking to implement Cyber Essentials across the board. So my advice to anyone on this call or listening to the recording is go and speak to your customers, work out who they serve and who they're part of supply chain for, because they will have a trigger event in the not too distant future that you need to fulfill, which is revenue for those involved in the call. I think one thing we're also seeing more and more of is insurance renewals. Insurance has always been a big part of what we do, and it's a nice add-on with our Cyber Essentials. But more and more insurance providers and underwriters are asking if you have Cyber Essentials. If not Cyber Essentials, what policies and controls have you got in place? Do you have MFA? Similar to what Jamie mentioned, but that list is increasingly becoming more and more. And if you're not delivering security services, you need to start looking at it. We're seeing more and more IT providers or MSPs transition into security providers, even at a baseline, because they have customers that they need to fulfill. And that's something we're seeing increasingly more of as well. Cool. I will cover some of the Cyber Essentials changes and where this has come from. But sort of alluding to what Jamie mentioned earlier on, compliance now is not just a once in a year tick box or moment in time. It's moving away from can you get a certification to can you help us maintain that all year round? And I'll come on to what that means for those on the call. We've historically seen it with ISO. 27001's been great. Yearly assertions, the defense cyber certification, for those that are aware, is supply chain. So going back to UK government's sort of ideal around supply chain mitigation, the defense sector are on top of the game and implementing Cyber Essentials and Plus, depending on severity, and additional frameworks across the board. There are yearly assertions with that as well. So you cannot just achieve certification there and then and do it again in a year's time or in 3 years' time. You have to be able to evidence that you're compliant all year round. For those that were at CyberSmart Live as well, Tom at Sutcliffe had a really interesting piece around insurance over in the US, which he hinted would be coming to the UK. I'm sure we're a few months off that at the moment. But those in the US, some of the big players in the US underwriting insurance, you need MFA, you need X, you need Y, and you Z. But as part of underwriting, you're signing off that you'll have your quarterly, monthly checks to showcase compliance is there. So don't be surprised if insurance documentations and underwriters are asking you to evidence that upon request, which for those on the call and everything we're going to go through today, you need to be ready. You need to ensure that your customers are not just compliant for that once a year audit, but all year round. And there is a question in the chat. Are we expecting any changes to the government's... Okay, Jamie, I'll leave that for us, the Q&A. Cool. Big changes with Cyber Essentials that those on the call may or may not know about. We are definitely seeing partners that do, and we're also definitely seeing some that don't. There are some big changes with the Cyber Essentials and Plus frameworks, which from a technical perspective makes it more challenging. I was going to use the word harder, but more challenging to deliver and fulfill, but also potential revenue stream for those that aren't monetizing Cyber Essentials as much as they could or should. I'm not going to touch on MFA too much, but the CE vulnerability sample process and the director declaration really, really back up the message that Jamie's sort of put across and we put across with the ongoing compliance piece. The first one, which I think is the most important, and lots of people do as well, is the declaration. The historic declaration has been, I haven't got a Bible, but I'm telling the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth to that, but we will adhere to maintain compliance all year round. Give or take wording, that's signed off at director level at the organizations that you serve. Cyber Essentials isn't just a once a year certification now. You are legally signing off that, or your customers are legally signing off that they will adhere to maintain compliance. You as an MSP or MSSP that serve their security and IT need to ensure that that's met. And if you're not doing so through various tools and products, you need to start looking at that because customers will pay for it. They have to do these things. And we'll allude to that a bit later on as well. The other big one, I'm just going to change slides, Jamie. Cool. I deleted the slide. The CE Plus testing changes. So historically with the Cyber Essentials Plus across the board, if a high risk or critical software piece is found on the samples, we would work with organizations and certification bodies would work with MSPs and orgs to essentially remove that. We could go back as many times as we wished along with in the 90-day window. That regulation has now changed. If a high risk or critical software piece is found on samples set number 1, we can no longer ask you politely to go offline and fix it. We have to request a new sample set. If the same vulnerability appears on subset sample number 2, your organizations that you serve, Cyber Essentials, will become null and void. Everything has to be started from scratch. Ironically, from a revenue perspective, you can charge them again, but that's not the message we're getting across. You need to be ready for that. You need to ensure that the scanning tools and the vulnerability scanners you use are the regulated ones that IASME use, the likes of Qualys, Nessus, Tenable, tools that we use internally and can provide. Otherwise, your customers are going to be very angry that they've not passed Plus. On the flip side, revenue opportunity. Add the tools and processes that you need to ensure ongoing compliance early doors. People need to do it. Organizations have to do these things now, and they will pay money for it. Sorry, Jim, I'm just going to change slide, but I keep moving your mouse. Back to the first point, right? The MSP revenue opportunity, and for every single person on this call, you can't just do this once a year. You need to be doing this proactively all the way around for your clients. Oh, last few bits then. This is stuff that we're not plugging or pushing CyberSmart here. This is evidence that we see through MSPs that we're working with and how they're utilizing compliance and some of the changes that we've covered across the board and their sales team to add additional revenue. The first one is compliance readiness. So we know that Cyber Essentials has been coming. We knew that 5 years ago, and it's here. It's taken a long time, but we're in a place where it's backed by UK government more so than it ever has been. We see it in tenders. It's now across supply chain. It's everywhere. Your clients need to be ready. We're seeing more and more MSPs deliver projects that look at 12 months, 18 months time, as opposed to 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in QBRs. Cyber roadmaps are really, really important. If you've got customers that haven't got Cyber Essentials, and you're looking or anticipating that they will, 27001, NIST2, whatever that may be, we're seeing more and more partners come to us for help with that roadmap. We've given a client a roadmap for 12 months' time. What can you as CyberSmart do to help with that? What products and services do you have to do that? That starts all the way from gap analysis through to the actual roadmap. So look at your customer estate, look at your product stack. Is that ready for the changes that we've mentioned? Is that ready for ongoing compliance? Because if it's not, start working with vendors to ensure that you have that ready to go. Second part, maybe a potential obvious one here. We are definitely seeing more and more partners charge for remediation services. This is ironically a good thing with the changes now. If someone does fail Cyber Essentials Plus, they have to have remediation work done. We would never bill clients for it or partners for it. We have to now, therefore you have to. But to stop that from happening, make sure the readiness assessments are up to scratch. But alternatively, if a Cyber Essentials self-cert is non-compliant, start working with your clients to remediate it. Make sure that you've got the tools in place to have the remediation work ready to go. And again, if you don't have it, start looking at vendors and working with vendors that can provide you with the tools and solutions and services that can aid with that. We have them here, but this is not a sales plug, so I'll skip that. Certification support. Those that do Cyber Essentials already, back to Jamie and IASME, we're the leading provider for C and C+, work with just under 1,100 MSPs. If any MSP on here is doing Cyber Essentials with us, they will know or should know. But you have unlimited support with us, so anything that you need from scoping calls through to ad hoc support, unlimited resubmissions, so don't be afraid to use us as your compliance readiness assessment. We're not going to bill you if you fail a self-cert once, twice, 10 times, but also a seamless process. So for those delivering CE, seamless process, one dashboard to deliver that for your clients as well. And the final part, which is a real nice summary of everything that we've sort of covered here, is the managed compliance. more and more partners are purchasing ongoing packages through various vendors and not just once a year subscriptions, turning compliance to monthly recurring revenue. We're seeing big MSPs and sales teams that aren't ready for changes come to us, echoing everything that we've covered today because of the triggers. But revenue stream number 4 is probably the most important here. Ensure, and echoing what we've discussed today, ensure that your product stack is ready to repeat recurring revenue, not just once a year. Have everything you need in place for those triggers and post-trigger. How we help people process technology. Those on the call that are existing partners would have seen this wheel many times. Jamie loves it. We love it. It's a real nice summary of everything that we do to help and what you should be doing to your clients as well. People process technology. The staff employed at the organizations that you serve and even your own organizations. The most common form of breach from happening is human error. If you can stop people in their tracks before risk is there, you're mitigating that common breach process. Ensure you've got the right certifications, the policies that you need to stop these things from happening. And technology, lock down your devices. Make sure the devices that you're using or managing for your clients are locked down to standards that are set, like Cyber Essentials, like 27001. If you can ensure people process and technology are mitigated, you're mitigating breaches from happening, and you won't end up on the news like you shouldn't end up on the news like Jaguar or Land Rover. And we can help with all of that, which we'll follow up with another time. The final one here, go-to-market support. We have everything that you need to push this message out to your clients, whether that be sales enablement, one-pagers, white-label documentation, technical support and technical rollout. Don't be afraid to utilize us. We're here to help to you as MSPs and MSSPs deliver that message and ensure ongoing compliance to all of the customers that you serve. And the final summary here is the opportunity is now. Don't wait. Go and speak to your clients because you will end up on the receiving end of one of these triggers and not be ready. Utilize what's happening in the industry. Utilize the pledges and the bills and the clients that you serve. Go and speak to them. They need to do these things. You need to be ready for it, and we can help you do so. And that is the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for jumping on early doors on a Wednesday. Any questions, feel free to pop in the chat. And yes, there'll be a recording, Emma, for you. We'll post it after the call.
Hey,
Sean had a
thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, we've got question. Yeah,
got a great one from Sean. So I've been thinking quite a bit about this. Sean asks if we're expecting any changes to government strategy towards cyber resilience, given we have a newly appointed government. So I've been thinking quite a lot about this and researching too to try and understand the various perspectives and changes that might happen. So clearly, we've already seen some shuffling in some of the appointments. So namely Department of Science, Industry and Technology, or DSIT, is getting dissolved, and it's then the people and the activities that are getting delivered are going to be moved around. We've seen a senior appointment of an AI minister as well, which I think will raise importance of AI. For me, I think it's probably better to look across the various initiatives and streams that the government's got going on and try and understand what the implication might be for cyber resilience across the UK. I think the first one worth touching on is defence. I think the newly appointed government looks like they're going to have a pretty strong stance when it comes to continuing to meet the commitments around defence. And obviously defence includes resilience broadly. It includes cyber. It includes preparedness as well. So my view, and this is definitely my view rather than a CyberSmart view or an official view, my view is that there'll be continued investment in the resilience part of defence. The second initiative or area I think worth looking at is the National Cybersecurity Centre. So it's operated relatively independently from the government, and it's been given a relatively strong remit. So the NCSC, National Cybersecurity Centre's mission is to make the UK the safest place to live and work anywhere in the world. And it's been doing that for a long time, very successfully. Previously as GCHQ and now as the NCSC. So I expect their work they do, including being the technical authority for Cyber Essentials, will continue broadly as is. The third area I'd say is going to be quite interesting to look at is AI and the government stance from both a productivity and a security slash risk perspective. And I think that this is going to be an area that's going to gain increasing focus as well. There is a real risk here of major distraction, particularly around frontier AI models, and that's that they are highly capable. We all know that. We've seen the research around this. The challenge that most organizations face today isn't a more capable AI model. It's actually a lot around the baseline. So Richard Horn, the CEO of the NCSC, published a blog post on this topic a couple of months back. He talked about frontier AI accelerating attackers and us needing similar capabilities to defend, but also that the first thing organizations should do is implement the baseline, including cyber essentials. So overall, I think we'll still see a continuation with the direction of travel, whether it's cybersecurity resilience bill, the cyber resilience pledge, or cyber essentials as a big push from government. But yeah, I'm watching it closely, so happy to hear any other thoughts if someone's got a different perspective too.
I'll take Simon's, Jamie. Question around CE plus sampling. Is the CE plus sampling process only with Cyber Essentials Plus, not regular Essentials? Yes, Cyber Essentials is still a self-assessment. So there is no testing or evidence collection as part of the self-assessment, regardless of the changes. Those changes will only affect Cyber Essentials Plus. So we confirm samples from your asset list 3 days before. On the audit itself, those samples are tested. If there is a non-compliance or high risk or critical software package on those samples, that's when we need to retest the additional sample set. But Cyber Essentials is still, and I'd imagine will remain still self-assessed as opposed to audited or tested. No worries, Sam.
And on Graham's question about the new requirements, do they affect businesses that are no longer trading but still keeping business email addresses for legal or tax requirements? So the regulations, namely the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill, is specifically designed to regulate medium and large entities within critical national infrastructure. So it wouldn't apply to organizations that are no longer meeting those size thresholds or delivering their core role. Like for most smaller businesses, for example, that are no longer trading wouldn't apply. That being said, there may be some organizations that are part of supply chains for defense or with a large enterprise, maybe sole traders, for example, and they may still have some contractual requirements around things like cyber essentials or defense cyber certification. So best thing to do is check the contractual and the regulatory obligations of the organization.
A little bit of a diversion, but the supply chain requirements outside of those that are non-trading are genuinely hitting organizations right at the bottom of supply chain. We had a partner who has a customer that they provide coffee beans to an MOD site, and the MOD site and that requirement is the provider of the packaging to the coffee bean provider all the way through to people that clean the floors. It's hitting those right at the top and right at the bottom. Any other questions?
All right, excellent. Well, thank you everyone for joining and making the time this Wednesday morning. If you would like a sales pitch, Richard, we'll follow up, and we'll send some more information. Following this, we'll send the slides out so everyone can have a look at those in their own time. We've got a recording as well, so we can share that too with all the attendees. And Sam, your email is sam.g.
Yeah, sam.g@cybersmart.co.uk. But if you're an existing partner, your account manager will follow up to see if there's anything you need from us to really push this message. If you're not a partner, I'll be in touch, and my team will be in touch to see how we can help and support you guys with sort of streamlining this process and really pushing this out to your customers as well.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, everyone, very much. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Good luck. Catch you all soon.